The financial stress of the pandemic. In this new section, we will talk about the impact of the pandemic on the economy and what were the actions taken to alleviate the financial stress worldwide. If you want to know more about it, stay on this video and get comfortable. All you need to know and much more below. The negative impact that COVID-19 generated this year 2020 in the financial sector is no secret to anyone. No matter the country or the economic condition, the change in the market was felt completely. Due to the pandemic, many companies closed down indefinitely, unemployment increased, debts rose, insecurity was sky high, among others. It is estimated that economic production fell by 3.3% in 2020. For this reason, the central banks of the emerging markets had to respond quickly to the crisis with a solution that will reduce the impact of the COVID as much as possible. At the time of the proposal, they considered political tools as their best ally to stabilize markets and keep them functioning. The majority of banks began the process of balancing with a reduction of indicative interest rates. This action was the step that would practically mark the path of monetary policy and the expansion of asset purchasing programs for the future. On the other hand, they intervened in the foreign exchange markets and approximately half of them cut the reserve requirements for banks, which provided liquidity to the financial system and made credit conditions more flexible. All this implied the majority use of quantitative flexibility, which was a tool that allowed to increase the amount of money in circulation in the market. With it, they bought the debt to the government and in the same way to the private sector. For the benefit of many, this effectively functioned as a way of relieving monetary stress. Although it was very unconventional to employ quantitative easing in banks, in a recent analysis to the Global Financial Stability Report, we can see how these asset purchase programs in general have proven to be effective, even helping to stabilize local financial markets. This process was a total success. As you can see on screen, the variation in the different regions is more than evident. If you believe that this video is interesting, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more content. Another important role in balancing the market was the purchase of assets, which permitted financial investment in stocks, bonds, or raw materials from different countries. Among the purchases of the most relevant assets, it was possible to conclude the following characteristic aspects. In countries such as India, South Africa, Philippines, central banks with official interest rates well above zero mostly used asset purchases as a tool to facilitate the functioning of the bond market. In second place, central banks with official interest rates in countries such as Chile, Poland, and Hungary started to follow a similar direction to banks with advanced economies, places where quantitative easing was used to alleviate financial conditions and provide additional monetary opportunities. And finally, it's evident how extra liquidity was injected into the financial system by including, in addition to money, new higher risk programs such as corporate bonds, which help contain pressure to the cost of credits. is important to mention that despite the fact that central banks have directed all their energies to protect the companies in the same way, they are providing affordable credits to households. The positive impact of the flexibilization could be seen after the first 6 months of the pandemic, where a change in the performance of the global market was observed. In particular, asset purchases by emerging market central banks helped to reduce public debt without generating the appreciation of local currencies. Although, at the moment the market is technically equilibrated, today hundreds of nations are in dialogue to decide what the next step will be. Because as many know, there is no certainty that the pandemic is so close to ending. The constant COVID regrowth is generating the need to design new global financial conditions with which the great and lasting impact of isolation can be contained. For this reason, the fundamental task for banks now is to design measures that will be extended in a future not so distant. With the appropriate protocols, the economy can be protected early from the financial vulnerabilities that probably come with the evolution of the epidemic. Close and continuous international coordination will be essential to support vulnerable countries, restore market confidence, and contain risk to financial stability. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) stands ready to use all its resources to support the protection of the world's most vulnerable economies and, in the long term, to strengthen future recovery. The positive experience of asset purchase may motivate more emerging market central banks to adopt unconventional monetary policy as part of their tools for combating the pandemic. While this economy model, as any other market-based option, is accompanied by some risk, once taken in consideration as an indicator, will not influence negatively the successful implementation. While the asset purchase programs actually have been useful, it's necessary to do more evaluations to show whether this could be the economic tool with which the market will definitely confront the pandemic. Depending on the behavior in the next month, the central banks will announce if they will continue to implement the strategy that has been managed since the beginning of the pandemic, or on the contrary, they will inform if a new tool will arrive with which the impact of the confinement can be supported. Although many studies state that if the pandemic continues, poverty will be inevitable, on the other hand, banks refuse to accept that condition. And what is the truth? Nobody knows. We only have the uncertain future. We hope you liked this video. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe and activate the campaign to be aware of all our new content.